Unicorn is literally your one card combo starter. You special summon him to the field and then you search for a Kashtira spell from your deck, which is going to be Theosis, and Theosis will let you to special summon another Kashtira monster. You will end up summoning these two monsters. So that's why Unicorn is going to be 2 copies, and there are some ways to search Unicorn. One of them is our field spell. Unfortunately, it is only limited one, and terraforming is also banned as well, so that's why we have to include only a single copy in our deck. However, there's an alternative way to search for our field spell, which is Planet Pathfinder. We normal summon him and then we tribute him in order to search for our field spell. That's why I'm going to include 3 copies in the deck. Now, if you have 2 of these cards, you can still end up special summoning Shangri or Erizard. But if you only summon Fenrir, for example, it won't take you to Erizard. Or if you have Erizard only, you won't be able to even summon Shangri. So that's why I try to combine these cards. For example, you can combine Rizehard with, let's say, Kashtira Bird. You basically banish a monster with the Rizehard effect from your deck, and then you special summon that monster with the help of Bird, and then you can end up summoning these 2 monsters. Or let's say you have Fenrir in your hand and then you have Theosis in your hand. So when you combine these 2 cards, you can still summon Shangri or Erizard. I included Rota because Rizehard is the only monster that is treated as a warrior monster. So if you don't have too many materials in order to create Rizehard, you can just run 2 copies of Rizehard and 1 copy of Rota, which will be more than enough. But I have 3 copies, so that's why I'm going to include 3 copies. You can even consider running 4 copies. I mean, 3 Rizehard plus 1 Rota, but I thought that it was too much. Fenrir is a really important card, even if it is not a 1 card combo starter. We still want to have 3 copies. And Theosis, again, is really important for doing our combo, so that's why it's going to be 3 copies. Bird, I tried 3 copies, but I felt that 3 was too much, so I'm just going to leave it at 2 copies. Now, when it comes to the core engine, we have even more Kashtira monsters in our deck. Ogre is one of them, but it is the worst Kashtira monster in the deck because it only searches for our trap card, which is either Big Bang or Preparations, but it is still a decent card. You can use it as an extender most of the time. I prefer Scarecrow over Tearlaments, and I'll tell you why. So you can special summon this card easily, but most importantly, when you attack your opponent with your other monsters or even with this card, their effects will negate it. And this effect was really helpful for me so many times when I played Scarecrow in my deck. And also, it can even attack while it is in defense position, but it doesn't help us with anything when we are doing combos other than as an extender. And you can, by the way, run any number of copies in your deck. I think 1 is more than enough. And Ogre, I'm going to run 3 copies. I might cut it into 2. I think 2 is okay for now. I'll check it out later. And the reason why I don't like Tearlaments Kashtira is I don't see too many benefit of playing it. You can special summon this card as an extender, but I don't like the effects of sending 3 cards of either player's deck to the graveyard. And when this card is sent to the graveyard, I can send 2 cards from my deck to the graveyard. So if you have your Erizard in your field, which banishes any card sent to the graveyard, it might hurt your opponents. But sending also my cards to the graveyard, I don't see too much benefit of it. So that's why I don't like it. But if you like it, you can totally include it. That's up to you. We have Overlap, but I don't think it's a great card. I don't see any benefit of running this card either. Big Bang. Now, Big Bang has so many benefits, and one of them is letting us to special summon another monster inside of our Xyz monster. For example, we have Ogre inside of, let's say, a Rizehard. So with the help of this card's second effect, we can actually special summon Ogre, or it can be Fenrir, or it can be whatever you have used it as Xyz material, so which is really helpful actually. And the other one is basically a similar version of Evenly Matched, so that's why running 1 copy is really nice. And also you can search with Ogre, but most of the time you wanna banish this card, not search it, especially with the help of Erizard. The card that you wanna search from your deck is generally Preparations with the help of Ogre, because this card lets you to special summon 1 Kashtira monster that is banished or in your graveyard, which can be really useful. And that's why we are going to run only 1 copies, which is more than enough. When it comes to Handtraps and Boardbreakers, we have so many options, but these are the ones that I'm going to use. The most important one is Dimension Shifter, because we really don't care about banishing our cards. That's why Dimension Shifter will be a huge power boost for our deck, because many meta decks today can't play under banishment effect, as you know. So that's why we are going to include 1 copies. Maxi is obviously a must in our deck, and Draw Lockbird also helps us as well. But there is something that you have to know about it. If there is a banishment effect on the field, you cannot activate Maxi or Draw Lockbird, because these cards must send themselves to the graveyard in order to activate and resolve their effects. So that's why I'm going to include only a single copy of Draw Lockbird, and Maxi is obviously limited 1, so that's why it's going to be limited 1. You can try 2 copies, that's totally up to you. I've tried it, but I have bricked it sometimes. Another reason why I would like to have at least 1 copy is Cross-Out Designator, because if my opponent activates Draw Lockbird when we make a search, it might limit our end board, so that's why I always like to have Cross-Out Designator and Draw Lockbird. You can also play Cult by the Grave. I prefer playing it. Ash Blossom, Cruelos, they are not affected by the banishment effect, so that's why I'm going to play them, and they're going to be 3 copies, and Cruelos is also going to be 3 copies. Most of the time we want to go first, but in case we lose the coin flip, Cruelos will be our insurance in order to stop our opponent plays. And when it comes to board breakers, Super Polymerization is super effective because we have so many space in our extra deck, even the match. Now this card isn't mandatory, but if you're losing your coin tosses too much, then you might consider actually including even the match. It is definitely going to help you when you go second. In Perm, obviously I'm going to run 3 copies. We need more hand traps in order to stop our opponent plays. Now, as I told you earlier, we have so many options in the extra deck. Obviously we want Shangri and Erisart. I'm going to run 2 copies of each other because sometimes your opponent can banish cards from your extra deck. Since this is an Xyz deck, we are running Zeus and Star Slayer. Both of them are super great in this deck. We have other rank 7 masters. Big Eye is one of them. This card is really useful because you can snatch steal your opponent's masters, and this is permanent, guys. Flare Metal Dragon is also another option that you can run. You're going to burn your opponent each time they activate something, and this card actually is quite good against Inya card, for example, because as you know, the deck keeps paying life points in order to make searches, and during that process, Flare Metal Dragon will just burn your opponent even further, so it is a really nice way to counter that deck. And also Zeus counter Inya craft really hard as well. Dark Arm Dragon also helpful. The distraction effect is not once per turn, so that you can activate it multiple times in the same turn. The rest of them are super poly targets. We have so many options, and most of the time we want to have the generic fusion masters first. So Mud Dragon is obviously one of them. Aurora is another one. Sea Master of Thesis is super good against Cavalton because all of their masters on the field are tuner masters. If you are facing against Cavalton too much in your ranked matches, you can run 2 copies instead of a single copy. And we have favorite hero Flame Wingman. This is the opposite summoning condition of Mud Dragon, so you can include this card if you have space in your deck, and also you can include Shining Flare Wingman, Mirror Jade. Both of them are options. So Pretty Plant Masters, you can always run this one Fusion Master plus 1 Dark Master, or you can run the other version, 3 Dark Masters on the field. So all of these are totally optional and up to you depending on what kind of decks you're facing with. If you are running against too many branded or Dracotail decks, you can run Dogma, and you can even consider running Secretarian Dragon, which is going to lock their Spellcaster and Dragon effects. You can even consider running Chaos because you can pop cards on the field. And if you're facing against too many Link decks, you can just use Virtualis Dragon or Ignister Golem. Both of them are really great against Link Masters. And we have a surprise target, which is Action Kicker Oracle. If your opponent plays Super Polymerization, they can actually use this card in order to get rid of both Shangri and Erisart. If your opponent summons a Synchro Master, an Xyz Master, or a Link Master, you can use any Psychic Master from our field. Our masters are Psychic Masters, except Erisart. This card can also gives us benefit for us as well. And when your opponent special summon a master, you can negate summon, and if you do, banish that master. And we have some honorable mentions. So because this deck doesn't rely on too much normal summoning, you can actually consider running Vanity's Fiend. If you hard draw this card after you build your field, you can actually normal summon this card. You can have some level 7 extenders if you don't want to run Ogre, or if you need more level 7 extenders. For example, the Ascendant of Thunder is one of them. You can just pay 3000 life points and special summon this card. So you can also consider running this card. Metamorphosis is unbanned if you remember, and because we run level 7 masters, you can actually summon the last warrior from another planet with Metamorphosis. So if you need more draw engine in your deck, you can consider Sacred Sword of 7 stars. You can run Pot of Desires, 3 copies, 1 copies, whatever you want. Extravagance is totally optional. I tried it, but sometimes it banished some of my most important Xyz Masters in my deck, so that's why I don't run it. Small World, honestly, I have never tried it. Probably you need another card for the breach. I am not a fan of Small World too much. Dimensional Fissure is definitely a helpful card for our deck. Sometimes your opponent gets rid of Erisart, but when you have both of these cards, it really puts our opponent in a difficult state. So you can also consider playing cards like Deck Lockdown. I never tried it, but it can be useful if you're going first. If you're going second, obviously this card is useless. And by the way, you can also consider playing Macrocosmos, but Macrocosmos is a trap card. So that's why it's not going to be that great when you're going second, but Macrocosmos banishes any card. Dimensional Fissure is cheaper and you can play it instantly. Solomon cards, since we consider going first, Solomon cards will definitely help you. The deck actually needs protection. This deck really loses against destruction effects or Boardbreakers, etc. So running Solomon can be quite helpful. If you want to protect your Xyz Master against spells and traps, Forbidden Lance can be quite helpful. Now, the full deck list should look like this. I run 2 copies of Dimensional Fissure. I think it is more than enough. Birth is a spell continuous card and 2 is more than enough. My extra deck looks like this. Again, you can change some of the cards, but just make sure that you run at least 2 copies of Erisard and 2 copies of Shangri. Make sure that you always have a spare.